You know that feeling when you scroll through a dozen welder listings, all glossy photos and promises of honest-op performance, only to end up with a machine that feels clunky, needs a whole garage full of accessories, or just won't hold a steady beat on the job site? I've been there, and the worst part is realizing you could have avoided that headache if someone had broken down the real-world pros and cons before you hit add to cart. That's why today's deep dive is all about keeping you from buying a welder that looks perfect on paper but falls short when you actually fire it up. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Miller 907757 Multimatic 220 is marketed as an all-in-one AC/DC machine that can swing between 120V and 240V without a fuss. That flexibility sounds great for a hobbyist who jumps between a home workshop and a job site that only offers standard household outlets. In practice, the dual voltage option does let you plug into a typical 120V kitchen outlet for light MIG work, and then switch to 240V when you need that extra amperage for thicker plate steel. For me, the real test was setting it up on a Saturday morning in a cramped garage where the only power source was a single 20-amp circuit. The welder's power switch and voltage selector were clearly labeled, and within a minute I was ready to lay a bead on an inch-mild steel piece. No extra transformers, no external power converters, just the machine, a spool of 0.035mm MIG wire, and a foot pedal. Who should consider this machine? If you're a serious DIYer who dabbles in both MIG and stick welding, or a small shop owner who needs a portable solution that can handle thin sheet metal and also step up for structural steel, the Multimatic 220 hits a sweet spot. The intuitive welding machine claim isn't just marketing fluff. The digital display walks you through voltage, wire feed speed, and polarity settings in a step-by-step fashion. I found that especially helpful when I was trying to MIG weld aluminum for a custom bike frame. The machine automatically switches to AC, and the polarity toggle is right next to the feed knob, so I didn't have to flip through a manual while the torch was hot. On the flip side, if you're a full-time professional fabricator who spends 8 hours a day on a high-amperage stick weld job, you might find the Multimatic 220 a little underpowered for continuous heavy-duty work. The effortless setup and precision welding promise holds true for short runs and medium-thickness projects, but the duty cycle tops out around 30% at its peak 220A output. In a real shop environment, that means you'll need to let the machine cool after about 68 minutes of hard welding, which can interrupt workflow. For a 24-hour production line, a dedicated high-amperage stick welder would still be the better choice. Another practical strength is the package inclusions. Miller doesn't ship the Multimatic 220 as a bare chassis. You get a MIG gun, a ground clamp, a spool gun adapter, and a basic set of welding helmets and gloves. For a first-time buyer, that's a nice cost saving because you avoid the "I need to buy 3 extra things before I can even start" trap. I used the supplied MIG gun straight out of the box to tack weld a metal art piece, and the torch felt balanced, with the cable routing designed to prevent snagging on the workpiece. The included spool gun adapter also makes switching to thinner aluminum wire painless, which is a hidden trade-off many single-function welders overlook. The hidden downside shows up when you think about long-term maintenance. The machine's internal cooling fan runs constantly, which keeps the temperature down but adds a low hum that can be audible in a quiet garage. Over time, that fan can collect dust, and because the unit isn't designed for easy fan removal, you'll need to schedule a professional cleaning if you want to keep the cooling efficiency up. Also, the flexible power options mean you have to be mindful of the circuit you're on. Plugging into a 120V outlet with a long extension cord can cause voltage drop, leading to inconsistent arc stability. I noticed a slight wobble in the bead when the cord stretched over a doorframe, so I recommend keeping the cord length as short as possible or using a dedicated 240V outlet for the most consistent results. Now, let's talk value. The Multimatic 220 sits at a price point that's higher than a basic stick welder but lower than a premium MI-Gonley unit with similar voltage flexibility. The real value comes from the fact that you're buying 3 machines in one, a 120V MIG, a 240V MIG, and an AC/DC stick welder, all housed in a single, relatively compact chassis. If you were to buy those 3 separately, you'd be looking at roughly double the cost, plus the hassle of storing multiple units. For someone building a home workshop on a budget, that consolidation can be a game changer, especially when you factor in the included accessories. Who should skip it? If you're solely interested in high-precision TIG work,